This video is brought to you by our supporters on Patreon. Montreal might just be the most ambitious city in North America when it comes to urbanism, at least for bikes and pedestrians. Transit, bit of a different story. It started building protected bike lanes in the 80s, when most everyone else was telling cyclists to act like cars and ride in traffic. Or can't you just ride around in a park or something? It was an early adopter of bike share, exporting its technology around the world. Its wildly successful summer pedestrian streets are gradually going year-round. No small feat in a climate like this. It's not afraid to take space from cars for plazas, school streets, curb extensions, and green alleys. Sure, there's plenty to criticize, and activists here rightly do, but the difference versus a lot of other peer cities is that so many things actually change. But here's the question I get asked a lot. What exactly makes this city so willing to rethink public space? I've been thinking through this and asking Montrealers.
Why are we like this?
I've been wondering about that a lot.
Well, this is Montreal.
I got a lot of answers. It's the density, European influence, the culture of public space. There's a lot of architecture and design talent here. It's a hub for festivals, circus, and performing arts. But in this video I want to focus on something else, Montreal's weird political system. It's unique and interesting in two main ways that I think contribute to boldness and experimentation. Here are two people who know what they're talking about.
My name is Stephanie Watt. I'm the co-founder and co-director of Metalude, and I'm a former city councillor here in Montreal.
My name is Pierre Lessarblais. I'm the mayor of the borough of Mercier-Hochelaga-Maisonneuve in Montreal. I think political parties are underappreciated in politics.
Montreal has political parties and local politics, but there's a twist. They're city-specific parties rather than local branches of national parties. Politics recently has been contested between two main camps. The urbanist environmentalist Projet Montréal of Mayor Valérie Plante, and the suburbanist pro-car opposition Ensemble Montréal. That's different from Toronto or Chicago, where local elections are nonpartisan. It's also different from Washington, D.C. or London, where candidates run under national parties like the Democratic Mayor of D.C. or the Labour Mayor of London. I'm not a Projet Montréal partisan. I often wish they were bolder on housing density, but they deserve a ton of credit for Montreal's urban transformation. They took control of one borough in 2009, implementing changes like this. They became the official opposition in 2013. In 2017, they won the mayor's office. They won even more seats in 2021. And now in 2025, they're running for another mandate under a new leader. Ask me 10 years ago whether cities should have political parties, I would have said absolutely not. Parties corrupt democracy. Since living here, though, I've changed my mind. Parties help voters understand their choices, and they make politics a little more about ideas and a little less about personalities.
Having parties means that you have public ideas. You have a group of people that share a vision working together.
You see how people inform themselves. Sometimes they spend less than an hour to inform themselves about who they're going to vote for. In municipal politics, when you have political parties, it's easier to get what are the point of views of each parties. You know, if you vote for a Projet Montréal, that you will vote for a bike-friendly party, you will vote for a pro-environment party. You have that clear platform.
The winner in a party system gets a clear mandate to implement their platform.
If you talked about developing bike path during the election, or the leader of your party did, you can do it. The population know this information, and maybe they voted for you or against you, but they knew this information. So you have a clear mandate of doing it.
Parties mean that councillors have a team to rely on.
It also means that you're a group of people at City Hall or Borough Hall can learn from each other's mistakes. How did you do it? What bylaw did you have to change? How did you interpret that? You know, what were the conditions of success for you? So having a party creates kind of this community of practice, if you will, in politics. It reminds people also of where we're going. Hey, does that really fit with the party goal? Like the program that we presented to the public and that we were elected to put in place.
They encourage boldness and action.
For sure, it's like this group where you can learn and you can be courageous together. It's hard to be courageous, and you need people to do that. It's not done alone. And so parties too, they help people be courageous.
There is a solidarity when you're under pressure. You have colleagues behind you that they support you.
And they can help get different types of people into politics.
They also are great machines to get people elected. People who might have great ideas, but are not like your conventional, typical politician. Like I certainly wasn't. I was a stay-at-home mom, geographer, who had ideas, wanted to transform the city. And that isn't a sort of typical trajectory for a politician. So parties are really great at supporting all these different profiles.
Local parties make city politics feel more separate from other levels. You're voting on street design and property taxes, not foreign affairs or Quebec independence. The problem with national parties is that often their divisions just don't match local politics. Take Washington, D.C. You can vote for Republicans or Democrats, but the Democrat always wins. It's a one-party race. The real election is the primary, where the Democrats choose their candidate. What's the point of parties then? Democrat versus Republican is just not a meaningful division in DC politics. At least in London, more than one of the national parties actually has a chance of winning. Montreal's system isn't totally unique. It's actually the standard across Quebec, which has 170 municipal parties registered in total. Although smaller cities have fewer parties on average and they can be more personality than program. Projet Montreal and a few others really stand out as being the most ideologically defined and durable parties in the province. British Columbia has parties too. Vancouver is currently run by the centre-right ABC Vancouver Party. All parties on council now are local, except the Green Party. With housing being so important in that city, parties in Vancouver are distinguished by being pro and anti-development as much as being left or right-wing. Outside of BC and Quebec though, I actually don't know anywhere else where local politics works like this. Australia comes closest. Local parties compete against national ones and independents. France has municipal lists, but they're endorsed by national parties. If you have city-specific parties in your city, let me know in the comments. I don't know if anything technically stops higher-level parties from running municipally here, but in Canada, federal and provincial parties are usually separate anyway, so it makes sense for municipal ones to be separate too when they exist at all, which means we end up voting for 3 completely different sets of parties. In a place like New York City, it's Democrats versus Republicans all the way down. Some parts of the US even elect Republican versus Democrat judges and sheriffs. What's next? Let me guess. Republican versus Democrat crossing guards? Garbage collection? Building inspectors? The second secret ingredient? Montreal's decentralized system of semi-autonomous boroughs.
Montreal's got a weird political system based on the city of Paris. We have 19 boroughs, it's a lot. Every boroughs of Montreal have local powers, so you take care of your local parks, your local bike path. It's like a city within a city.
Boroughs have about 100,000 people on average. Each one has its own borough hall. That's like a city hall, but there are 19 of them. Some used to be separate cities. Some parts of the island of Montreal are still separate cities, but we're not talking about them here. Boroughs are responsible for local infrastructure and services. Think snowplowing and garbage collection, sports, culture, and recreation, and many aspects of urban planning. Their authority over local streets allows projects like this one.
This was all borough. These are local streets. We didn't need city approval. Not that I remember. Borough project.
Honestly, I'm usually skeptical of local control. It can empower NIMBYism and block housing. But Montreal's borough system seems to drive progress for bikes and pedestrians.
If you want to have bike paths, if you want to change how you do parks, if you want to have strong urban planning bylaws, you can, because the boroughs have that autonomy. You know, the city has the master plan and the boroughs have their own urban planning bylaws. And so you can go further than another borough neighboring you.
It allows for more variation, for better or worse.
Boroughs can be places of innovation, and they can also be places of status quo because there is a certain autonomy. And so we see some boroughs really pushing for transformations while others kind of are doing things as they've always done them.
But having some boroughs push the limits seems to help others follow.
And so it also makes for like really great models. There's great models, and the Plateau is named as one. Others learn from that. The civil servants change boroughs, and they bring their learnings and their courage to other places.
We're always like trying to share good practices as elected people from different boroughs. Sometimes there's a little of pride between each of us saying that, hey, who did the best job, who's the most efficient.
Boroughs are not fully autonomous. They rely on the central city for much of their funding, and they only control local streets. Higher level streets require permission, but boroughs are the reason some parts of the city have things like curb extensions everywhere. A few boroughs have their own hyper-local parties that run only there and can't even win the city. They can align for or against the governing party though. Let's say you live in a more ambitious borough. What happens if a less supportive administration comes into power in the central city?
It's pretty sure that most projects will slow down. However, there's always ways for the boroughs to build bike paths on local streets where they have their own responsibility. It's always a little bit more complicated. There's an impact on budgets, so that's why next elections are important.
Boroughs are not just the personal fiefdom of one councillor. Each one has its own borough council with at least 5 councillors, including a borough mayor. That means Montreal has a lot of elected councillors, 65 on city council, or 103 if you include borough councils. That's way higher than other cities like Houston, Philadelphia, or Toronto. Even New York City. Including borough councils, Montreal has 1 councillor per 17,000 residents. In other cities, it's more like 1 per 100,000. Boroughs also have their own staff. Most are public works and staffing for things like libraries, but they include planners and engineers too. I totally get why you might be skeptical of a system like this. That's a lot of councillors, and splitting up many services by borough probably has inefficiencies. But it gives boroughs the capacity and competence to do cool things like this. Councillors are more active and accessible in the community. I know someone from Toronto who's had more meetings with Montreal councillors than Toronto ones. While Vancouver had a similar party system to Montreal, its city council looks totally different. They don't even have districts for elections. Councillors are elected at large, representing the entire city. Montreal's political system is pretty weird by Anglo-North American standards, but it's more normal by European ones. Paris and Berlin also have large city councils and boroughs with their own mayors and councils. In the English-speaking world, Australia again is comparable. Cities are split up into local government areas like the City of Sydney, small, just the CBD, and the City of Parramatta. They average 150 to 200,000 people and they handle local infrastructure and services. This is outside of the scope of the video, but it's worth mentioning. Montreal actually has a couple of other layers of government. There's an island-wide level of government handling things like transit, police, and fire, also funding bike paths. And there's a broader regional government for higher-level planning. The City of Montreal has a lot of weight on both, especially the island-wide agglomeration of Montreal. The Mayor of Montreal is automatically the chair of both of those councils. I don't want to be too deterministic about this stuff. Having political parties and strong boroughs doesn't guarantee good urbanism. Lacking them doesn't guarantee bad urbanism. But if you want to understand why Montreal is like it is, you have to understand the parties and boroughs. Most of the projects we feature on this channel were championed by a particular urbanist party, and in many cases they were achieved at the borough level with borough powers. Like I said, some of this goes against my priors. I don't love local control. Applied to housing, it's been a tool of exclusion. And I wouldn't necessarily expect political parties to be a force for good. But the results speak for themselves. If Montreal didn't have parties and boroughs, probably we'd be heading in the same direction, just more slowly. Lessons for other cities? Even if you don't have parties on the ballot, try to create organizations to encourage boldness and coordination. Make them big tent and focus on city politics and urban issues. I think it's important for Americans to break out of their two-party system. It's not great nationally and it's even worse for cities. Democrat versus Republican is just not a very good axis for city politics. Electoral reform, like ranked choice voting, might be part of the answer. I have to mention that Montreal's system can cut both ways. If you live in a less supportive borough, you're going to miss out on a lot of this good stuff. And if the Suburbanist Party wins the next election, that'll change our trajectory. They've promised a 12 to 18 month pause on new bike lanes, saying bike infrastructure will definitely not be our priority. That could be majorly disruptive for a lot of projects that are planned or even under construction. They've also promised an audit of existing bike lanes.
Ensemble Montreal leader and mayoral candidate Soraya Martinez Ferrada would launch an audit of the entire bike path network in the city.
Supposedly for safety, but if that's the goal, shouldn't you audit roads without bike lanes? Or roads without good pedestrian infrastructure? I don't fully know what to expect if they win, but I am worried. Thanks for watching through to the end of the video. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and a special thanks to our supporters on Patreon. This video is brought to you by our supporters on Patreon.